Well, there's lots to discuss per usual. Um, w- I am hopefully Andreas. Do you see his comment?
Thank you, Poppy.
My husband and my brother have the most intense bromance I've ever seen, but it although my husband I think has a little bit of a bigger crush on you than you have on him.
Well, we look out for each other.
Yeah.
We care about each other.
Y'all do. Y'all do. It's sweet. This will be hopefully the last week that I'm in this location, my office. I'm getting an office move. My house is a mess, so I am feeling a mess. And I have a friend in town visiting from London, so it's been a weird, crazy week. I can't believe the Super Bowl was Sunday. That feels like 2 weeks ago already.
Yeah, Super Bowl. We got Mardi Gras, which is like constant all weekend long parades, Mardi Gras balls the last couple weeks. So at least we've been having a little bit of fun considering
Yeah.
the world is on fire.
You really have to balance the joy with the rage. That's the secret.
Oh,
You have
I
to
like that.
channel your rage and actually break it down into tangible, actionable items that you can do to put that rage in motion, but you also cannot sacrifice your joy. Joy is the resistance. Bad Bunny taught me again this last Sunday that art is resistance,
Yes.
creativity. So you have to do things that nourish yourself and bring you joy in these times
Yeah,
more than
and that
ever.
that love overcomes hate. It's easy to get like tied up in just in the hate, because there is a
Mhm.
lot to hate. But we have to remember that we're all here for each other.
Mhm.
We have to help each other along, love each other, and know that, and like you said, not let them take away what has already been taken from us over these last 10 years and even more.
So
And I'm not going
much.
to let it happen. I'm going to channel everything I can into doing something about it because we're seeing now how powerful we really are.
Mhm.
We can change things and make things better. And I'm seeing more and more people join the effort by the day, and that makes me feel pretty good and optimistic. And I'm going to hold on to that.
Yeah, I mean, that blue wave is coming, like tidal wave, tsunami. If
Yeah.
it's happening in Louisiana, it's going to happen everywhere else.
Yeah, that's another big thing that's happening right now is qualifying here in Louisiana for Congress. Today is the last day, so we'll know after today, this
Oh,
afternoon.
okay. That's why I've been seeing some announcements today.
Yeah, so everybody is signing up today, whoever's going to be running for Congress, and we have Democrats in every single congressional district, all six of them in Louisiana. I know a number of them, some really good ones I'm excited about. Some are lesser known that have kind of recently jumped in the ring in these
Mhm.
last couple weeks. So I'm excited to get to know them a little bit more, and I think we're going to have some really good primaries because people need to remember this is the first year in decades that we're having closed primaries, which I like for a number of different reasons.
Okay.
But we get to see Democrats kind of battle it out in a way, but not it in a good way, in a good competition way to see, because in the past we basically had to wait until October, November to see who's running and
Mhm.
who's really what people were about. But this allows us to have that kind of battle of ideas in a primary up to May 16th, which is the primary election, and then we get to decide like who is our top Democrat in all these districts. And then we'll also get to see, hey, we're going to be matched up against one Republican. And then we could have another 5, 6 months of a real campaign of like
Yeah.
our number one choice against their number one choice. So I'm really excited about that. And like we mentioned before, we're going to have a lot of these candidates on our Substack Live coming up, I think after Mardi Gras, I was thinking about reaching out to all of them and saying, "Hey, if y'all want to come join us for 45 minutes and talk about what's been happening for the week, not it's not really going to be just a campaign pitch from these candidates, but have them just kind of loosen up and let's talk about like what's been going on, so people can really get to know them on a more personal level."
Sorry, excuse me.
Bless
Yeah,
you.
and, I think, like, I wanna yeah, I do wanna hear their platform, but I also just kinda wanna hang out with them and get to know them a little more. I think that's the vibe we wanna bring. So, for all of you watching, if there's anybody you want us to bring on the live, it can be in Louisiana, it can be outside Louisiana, anyone you think would be a good guest, because that's the direction we wanna take this year. Of course, Dustin and I love coming on and talking to each other, but we wanna bring in some new blood this year.
Yeah, and there's so many great content creators in Louisiana now that have
Mhm,
jumped into the political realm. People, just all sorts of content creators are now, taking stands. People are posting more about politics and getting involved. I want to bring some of them on too, and let
mhm.
let's share audiences.
All right, well, let's get into it for this week. I just want to let's start with the Super Bowl, some exciting news. I absolutely adored the show. I thought it was the most beautiful Super Bowl show I've ever seen. Maybe that's because, my husband is Venezuelan, so I understood a lot of the cultural context clues in there. But when he started walking through the the what was through the leaves and stuff, and every little vignette
The
was
sugar
something
cane.
different. The sugarcane fields, and because I immediately I know when I saw that shaved ice stand, I almost like stood up. I was like, oh my god, because I've had one of those in Panama, and it's just he pulled everything that every Latina can identify with. And the little boy who was sleeping at the wedding, the fact that it was a real wedding, like they actually
Yes.
got married, the nail salon, like I've gotten my nails done um by a Latina, like she is a nail artist, and I saw her posting afterwards, like she was freaking out that the nail salon had a moment. Um the famous club owner from New York City served him the shot, and I just loved it. Even like the plastic chairs he brought out. It was just,
Yes.
it was a joyful expression of their culture, especially for Puerto Rico, which is an American territory. And I've personally been loving the way people are speaking out here in Louisiana of calling out the hypocrites, because we have a very rich Cajun history culture. I mean, Dustin, our grandparents spoke Cajun French. We always joked that, and it's kind of true, they spoke French when they didn't want the kids to understand what they were talking about. But they were persecuted when they were children, when they were speaking French, they would get in trouble. So the fact that a lot of the people who have their heritage has immigrated to Louisiana, the fact that they're pissed off that an American was speaking a different language is just absolutely absurd.
I've been it was proud to see some prominent Cajun musicians come out recently
Mhm.
and take a stand against that hate, against Bad Bunny, and of course ICE and the deportations. I'm seeing more, like, a lot of Cajun musicians and content creators talk about it, and I'm like, yes, it's that's the thing. That's one of the good things. It's like, yes, there's a lot of hate, but like that was like you said, there was so much love in it too. Like
Mhm.
love won on this one. The turning point alternative halftime show was a complete disaster. People actually liked watching Bad Bunny, and it was fun. It was interesting. It was cool. people were laughing, I mean, dancing and everything, and,
Mhm.
um, I always love the Instagram breakdowns of all the little
Yes.
Easter eggs that, like, I
Yes.
missed and all the
So
cultural references. That's really what I got the most out of. Just like last year with Kendrick Lamar's performance.
yeah.
You just I always learn so much more because it
Yeah.
happened so quick live during the halftime show.
And he represented all different kinds of Latinos, and he represented the LGBTQ community, which I did catch the first time around. I was like, "I see that." And, the I recognized Pedro Pascal immediately, and that's my man.
Yes.
I was like, "Ooh, there he is, Pedro."
I think
And,
collectively America was like, "Pedro Pascal."
and, yeah, so many and then um, high lines, right? So I immediately knew when I saw those, I was like, "That's a reference to the, energy crisis they've had," and
Right.
I specifically thought, like, after the hurricane, that was probably the main call out, but, anyway, I thought he did a beautiful job, I just felt, and I said to Andreas later that night, I was like, "This is a win for your community." Like, it really felt it was a wonderful moment. So, shout out to the NFL for, lifting his voice up and supporting that community.
And one other thing too, just the Louisiana parallels too. Whenever I saw all
Mhm.
the sugarcane, I
I
just
know.
immediately thought of South Louisiana because that has been our main crop. And then you start thinking about how the history of Louisiana and slavery and how it was related to colonialism in a lot of the islands and everything. So
Mhm.
it really just kind of all kind of came together and you know in these dark times there's some beautiful moments and
Mhm.
as bad as things are right now these are the kind of beautiful moments that I think will keep us going. It makes
Yeah.
us stronger.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. Moving on, what disaster should we talk about?
I mean, Pam Bondi I think is the craziest one. I mean, I I watched some of it live. It's so
Same.
crazy how many other people watched it live. Like I never watched some of these
Yeah.
congressional hearings live, and I just happened to. And so many people said that uh, they they watched it and just were just kind of revolted by it. And it was kind of like s- like just showed like what a monster people can be.
Mhm.
That she thought it was okay to respond to questions like that. No no professionalism at all, no shame, no shame.
It seemed to me that she was fully prepared to act this way. I think she came prepared with notes on everyone she knew was gonna be asking her questions. She had, like, personal attacks ready to go. She knew she was gonna deflect everything. I think a long time ago, before she was even appointed to that position, she had already doubled down on defending Trump no matter what. No matter what.
Yes.
No matter I mean, she's seen more than anyone what's in those files. So there's gonna be a special place in hell for her, and hopefully an orange suit for the rest of her life. I've even seen some Republicans calling for her resignation. Just a complete immature and abhorrent behavior. And the fact that I think she thought that like she did a good job. Like I think she
Yeah.
was proud of the way that she conducted herself, which is so, I mean, there's so many moments, right, in this last past year, especially where you really have to think to yourself, what the hell is going on? Like, how are we living in this, what seems to be like a movie? Like, that particular scene is going to be recreated for a movie about this time period. Like, shouting about the stock market when the victims are right behind you is a level of evil that I didn't know I could actually witness live on television. It was
Yeah,
insane.
it was not surprising to me that she mentioned the stock market because, um, you know, it reminds me that, MAGA, at the center of MAGA, it's all about money and greed. This billionaire class, this Epstein
Yeah.
class, this control, this authoritarianism. It's all about money. And they just can't understand that people aren't like just ecstatic that the stock market is high right now. Of course, the stock market reaches new highs all the time in Democratic presidents.
Mhm.
I mean, Democratic presidents, Biden, Obama. You can go back 50 years. Democrats always come in and save us from major recessions and bring us to new highs in markets and jobs and everything. Um, but they just can't understand that just doing whatever for big corporations to pad their profits and make the stock market go high. Which, yes, we're happy that the market is not in a crash right now, but that is not everything. Like, people care about other things besides just the markets being at all time highs. And the fact that she was saying that and like it was like a mic drop moment, that we all just need to get
Yeah.
it together and be thankful and grateful, like JD Vance said, like we should all be grateful to them is kind of what I got from it. But it's just
We should
so
be grateful
on
and
brand.
apologetic to them.
Yes. And
But it also speaks to their just, like, her ignorance because I they really do think I think sometimes they think the stock market equals the economy on a whole, and we've talked about this last week about this idea of, like, there's this, dichotomy of what's happening in the economy right now. Like, yes, the market seems to like, nothing seems to deter it, but then you have everyday people who are really suffering. Our income inflation is making our incomes well, both inflation and a stagnation of wages is making life for even people who have like above average incomes. It's becoming difficult for people to enjoy the roses. I have to share this. This reminds me there, the guy who's on the New York subway and he takes the pass and he puts a little mic on it and he interviews people on the subway. Have you ever seen this guy?
I think
He
I
he
did. Yeah.
he just starts talking to people trying to get their hot
Yes.
takes.
Hmm.
And I saw one this last week that was so beautiful. She said, um, people deserve their bread and their roses. And this concept is behind it was this union, a certain union, maybe it was like New Hampshire. The corporation, they banded together and unionized and fought for higher wages. And their whole theme was, we want our bread and our roses, which is this idea that people deserve to have a roof over their head, afford food, and security for their family, but they also deserve their roses, which is to go to the theater, enjoy life, go on vacations, like to enjoy the fruits of their labor. And I just thought that was so poignant and timely because I think right now they think that I don't think they realize how little roses people are getting, like
Yeah.
on an average basis. Like people aren't really able to enjoy that everything is becoming it's like even when you talk about like concert tickets, like everything is like 1,000. Like you have to be wealthy, you have to be well to do in order to enjoy some of the things that used to be normal for people, like going to a concert, going to a festival, like going out to eat on a regular basis, taking one or two vacations a year. It's becoming more and more out of reach, and that's what they're so out of touch with. It's like, who cares what the stock market is doing when people actually aren't able to enjoy the life that they're working so hard for?
Yeah, and there's polls that just came out saying that people pine for President Obama's economy. And that was I mean, not Obama, President Biden's
Mm,
economy.
mhm,
Uh,
mhm.
Biden was just crucified through his economy of him trying to, uh, uh, after COVID, and we had a lot of the inflation because the world shut down. He was working a lot to improve people's lives. We had the child tax credit. We had a lot of different things that, of course, Republicans eliminated right afterwards. Investments and things like that. There was so much more that we could have done, but people weren't happy with it, and I understand that people weren't happy with it. But now those problems are getting way worse, and yes, corporate profits are soaring and AI stocks are soaring. But that's all going into the pockets of a few billionaires. I mean, Trump's family has pocketed $1.5 billion, and they just can't. They just can't. It's like they think that people are just ungrateful. And you're right. I mean, and we're seeing right now in the economy, and that's what I'm worried that we still could be on the verge of a recession. There's realtors are saying that could be in a new housing crisis now already. We're seeing personal debt climb to its highs that we haven't seen since 2008. And so they are out of touch. And one other thing too that I think that I recognized, and it's important that we remember that the attorney general is supposed to be our lawyer.
Yes,
Okay. And
for the people.
everything she was doing was a performance for Trump, who was
Mhm.
watching, Trump was watching. It was all a performance for Trump. And that's
I'm
all
sure
that
she got a
MAGA
nice
is.
little pat on the head after that performance.
Yep, her little smirk and smile afterwards was like, "Yes, I was a good girl for Trump."
Mhm. Mhm.
And we have to remind ourselves that, it's not supposed to be this way. Like the Republican Party, if you're represented by a congressperson in a Republican district or a US senator, you don't have representation. Even in Louisiana, our governor does not represent Louisianans. He's representing Donald Trump. Our Secretary of State just turned over all of our records to the Department of Justice, all of our driver's license numbers and Social Security numbers because Trump wants it. So our Secretary of State, who's supposed to protect all of us and organize our elections, is doing it for Donald Trump. Our Attorney General is they're all showing their loyalty is to Trump, and all of our Congress people and U.S. senators and even our congressional candidates right now
Mhm.
are um, are showing that when they're running, they're only talking about protecting Trump. We have different candidates right
At
now that
all
are fighting
costs. Yeah.
at all costs. That's what they're running on, and it's just it's important that we remember that. Um, I mean, the Republicans lost their shit whenever Loretta Lynch was Obama's attorney general, met Bill Clinton on the tarmac
Oof.
for 5 minutes.
Yes.
Whenever Hillary Clinton was getting investigated over her emails, and now you have Pam Bondi literally being Donald Trump's personal lawyer. And
Mhm.
I think we all need to remember that this is not how it should be. And whenever we do win power again, we have to make sure and change this for good.
Mhm. Somebody, I'm sure you're one of these people. We need to be taking detailed notes on all the new rules that we need to make for these people who are professional rule breakers slash finding the gray line. So, okay, did we talk about last week? When did Blake Miguez step out of the race? He's now running for oh, that's right. He's running it for a district he does not live in. And
Yes.
what happened this week was Trump endorsed him.
Yeah, let's talk about some of the fighting that we're seeing in some of these congressional races. Um, so for people that don't know Louisiana or aren't caught up to date, Donald Trump got Julia Letlow, who is our congressman in the fifth district, to run for U.S. Senate against Bill Cassidy. Um, and
Can we
so,
say real quick for people who don't know that history? Her husband was running for that back in 2019 or 2020, and he died of COVID. And so
Yeah.
she stepped into his place to run, and that's how she got elected.
Yeah, and I just saw this week she announced that she got endorsed by the Maha PAC. So
Of course.
Maha, of course, is anti-vaccine, and the fact that her husband, who was elected to Congress, didn't even get to go in office of Congress because he died of COVID right before entering office. This was a 30-something-year-old man died of COVID, and now she's going to come out and be proud of the endorsement of the Maha PAC. That's how what sick times we're in right now.
Mm.
Uh, but but Blake Miguez was running. We call him Me Guns. He was running for U.S. Senate. Now he's running for the fifth district, her old district. Okay, he doesn't even live anywhere near the district. He lives in. He's like 100 miles away, at least, from the edge of the district. But he's running in it, so he's pissing off some other Republicans that want to run. So all the Republicans are fighting right now.
Mhm.
You had Dixon McMakin,
Just not her
who
real
is it?
name.
Yeah, I know it's like McLovin. Uh,
It's like a
y-
Louisiana McLovin.
yeah, so there was a controversy that he backed out of that race when Blake Miguez got Donald Trump's endorsement, and
And then I saw Gary Chambers go online and make fun of it because his wife had like a little meltdown on her Instagram stories about it and was like, Trump ruined it for us for our
yes,
district to get the best candidate. So that
uh,
was fine. That was
those
always fun to see.
MAGA tears,
Uh-huh.
and so there's also some fighting that happened yesterday. So there's a third. So a lot of the other Republicans dropped out of the race, but the one Republican that's still in the race, along with Cassidy and Julia Letlow, which Cassidy is our incumbent. Julia Letlow got endorsed by Trump. John Fleming, my old opponent for state treasurer, who is our current state treasurer, is also in the race for U.S. Senate. And he is kind of mad because he's being left out. He says he's the only true conservative in the race. Right now, we're seeing ads by Julia Letlow and Bill Cassidy saying how the other one is liberal. I'm like, oh my God, y'all are not liberal. Julia Letlow is not liberal at all.
They
She does
wish.
whatever Trump says. But I'm just like, well, anyway, so they're fighting. All their PACs are spending millions of dollars right now attacking each other, and John
Mhm.
Fleming is like, "Well, I'm the only conservative in there," and he called out Jeff Landry, our governor, for
Oh.
plotting. He just did this yesterday for plotting to, because I think he went and signed up for the race yesterday or something, so it made news, and he accused Governor Jeff Landry for plotting with Trump to pick Letlow. So whenever Jeff Landry finishes his governorship, that Julia Letlow will hand over the U.S. Senate seat to him, and he will appoint her to a like higher education uh, like seat. Like she's basically a seat warmer for him. Like maybe
What?
he would appoint her to a
So
college for
Fleming outed this plot?
yes,
Oh,
and
okay.
so of course everything's projection with these people anyway because Fleming did the same thing. He only ran for state treasurer so he can get
Of course he's gonna
statewide
call out that
recognition.
of course he's gonna call out that plot because that's exactly what he did, and that's what Trump does all the time. Anything that if Trump says accuses somebody of doing something, then you know, okay, that's he's already done that. And he's accusing because he thinks everyone's minds work like his.
Exactly. And so he left that cat out of the bag. And so Jeff Landry hit back and said that Fleming is not qualified and shouldn't be in any office in the state of Louisiana. And so then John Fleming hit back and said, that's rich coming from a governor who's not even caring about Louisiana that begged Donald Trump to to uh, to head up the envoy to Greenland. So they're
Oh,
going back at each other, and I just thought it was,
I
I just
didn't know any of that. That's amazing. I
I just
love
love to
it.
see it.
Louisiana politics are always a theater, always.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing too, like, it's a weird situation because we're seeing, in my opinion, Democrats, we just won that special election by landslide, um, in the legislative districts
Is
with,
that
Christina
can I
Martinez.
ask a question real quick? Who in that race, who was predicted to win, and how does that district how has it previously gone?
So that district, there was no polls out or anything, so it was held by a Democrat for a long time, but the Democrat that was held it was kind of a conservative Democrat, and he hasn't really been challenged the last couple cycles. He's been there for a long time, voted with Republicans on some issues, but it was known that that district, like Democrats, were probably going to lose it for a while up until this year.
Right.
Whenever
Well, and do we know how they voted in the presidential election?
So that's what
Okay.
happened. That district in the presidential election voted. Uh, Donald Trump carried that district by 13 points.
Okay, that's what I thought I saw, that it was a Trump. And what area is this? Like, what city is this in?
So that's like St. Gabriel. So it's right
Okay,
around
so
LSU, kind of Baton Rouge,
gotcha.
across the river from LSU,
Which
across
makes
the
sense
Mississippi
that
River.
she's like a young progressive, right? So
Yes, yes. And so she won. It was the biggest point swing we've seen in any special elections around the country. I think it was a 37-point swing. So we're seeing, hey, the blue wave could be, it's looks like it could be in
tsunami.
Louisiana too. So the
Mhm.
fact that now the Republicans, they have to battle it out for the first time in a closed primary, which means it's a purity test for MAGA in a closed
Yes.
primary.
A race to the right.
A race to the right at the time that Louisiana is the pendulum starting to swing back away from MAGA. It's going to be slower than a lot of other states, but it is happening.
Mhm.
And now that they're attacking each other, these PACs are attacking each other, calling each other liberal. I'm like, I don't know, maybe in a way, I feel like those attack ads are helping them in the general election to make them seem more moderate than they really are. I
Mhm.
don't know. It's just kind of a weird thing going on right now, and I think we're gonna see a lot more of it here in the next few months.
I just feel like November can't get here soon enough. I
Yeah.
know everyone's just worried about the integrity of the election. If we can just make it there and have fair elections, I might start to feel some real hope. So, everyone just needs to stay activated and engaged. And I saw a really good, and maybe you shared this, but somebody suggesting, like, here's what you can do. Those the elections all need volunteers. What are they called? Poll workers. And there's lots of kind of behind the scene things you can sign up for um, to kind of be around that process and help to make sure things all go smoothly.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think, I just posted about, our amendments that are up for election. Our statewide constitutional amendments are also gonna be in May at the same time of these closed primaries, and so I did my write-up, and people that remember last year, I was, um I was really loud about the constitutional amendments, and we had kind of a social media blitz. Got hundreds of thousands of views us talking about the amendments, and they got voted down, bipartisan, just like destroyed all these Project 2025 amendments. And so I thought most people kind of moved on from that. So I did my first write up. I waited until now because I wanted people to be thinking about the next election. And so I wrote a Substack on the amendments, a breakdown that we need to reject them all, vote no on all of them again,
Again,
and we posted on social media, and they're just going bonkers on social media, like in a good way. People are sharing it. My Facebook page, I shared the post just yesterday, the day before. It's been shared like 300 times. So
nice.
people are thirsty
Yeah.
for things that are kind of boring. Even constitutional amendments are
Every
pretty boring,
election
right?
matters.
It still kinda shocks me
I
that
mean,
people actually care about it.
but if you think about it, a change to the state constitution is not a small thing. It's not like and that's what I try to tell just like my friends and my audience. Every single election matters. I'll never forget last year because we were in New Orleans for the book fair, which we'll
Mhm.
be going back to, but that's when the election results came out and how exciting it was. It was like the first win since Trump went into office. It was the
Yeah.
first little taste of maybe the wave happening. And so I feel like we should be confident going into this, but every chance someone gets to help um, get the word out about voting no again. Like, hey, they're coming back again. They're repackaging it all. They're not going to stop. And we just have to continue to keep showing up. They want us to not show up and they want to sneak it past. And we just have to stay vigilant and not let them. And I'm sure this is
Yeah.
happening at states, all red states all across the US.
It just felt good, like, people care, like, people are sharing it, it's, like, vital information
Mhm.
that's boring and kinda complicated, and
Everyone's just
everybody's,
like
like,
eating it up.
sharing it.
Yes.
Everybody, "We're not gonna do this again, we're gonna
Mm-mm.
reject it again." I'm like, "Huh." So I feel good, about Louisiana. I feel like we're on a good trajectory, it's something that we can build on, and, um, and I've said this before, I think, Louisiana is the center of gravity with MAGA. Yeah, Mar-a-Lago is too, but I mean, the power structure in MAGA um, goes back uh, decades. I mean, generations here in Louisiana, and it's no surprise that Speaker Mike Johnson is from Louisiana. That Kevin Roberts, the author of Project 2025, is from Louisiana. On and on and on. Um, so we have to do our part, and I feel people are starting to care. People or maybe they were just not starting to care, but realizing that politics showed up on our front door, whether we like it or not, and
Mhm.
people realize that we have to do something. Voting, yes, but also sharing it and getting our other fellow citizens and neighbors and friends to do the same.
Yeah. And Louisiana is interesting. It's definitely like everyone should have it on its watch list because a lot of people may not realize since because it's so MAGA right now, but not that long ago, Louisiana was a consistent blue state. And I think that yes, MAGA is has a stronghold here. They're going to be around for a while. It's going to be hard to beat them, but we have roots in being liberal and democratic. Like what do they call it? The Dixie Democrats. I think a lot of the Dixie Democrats turn Republicans, but we still have a lot of like the blue collar workers here. And there's a lot of people who are are more conservative but not MAGA. And I think the problem that Louisiana has had mainly is a turnout issue. That's why a lot of the Democratic leaders, especially like yourself and Gary Chambers, have always said like Louisiana is a dark horse. Like pe- national Democrats should be spending more time here because it is winnable. It is because we have that rich history. That I think it could flip. It'll be interesting to see what happens both in May and this fall in
I'm, gl-
Louisiana in
I'm
particular.
glad you brought that up because um, I finished my Game of Thrones books, not all of them. I'm kind of waiting for some of the new ones to come out. So I was looking for something else to read. I mentioned that fiction helps me go to sleep at night. Now, this book isn't fiction, but it's a biography, so it's still really good and still helps me. Uh, you know, when I'm going to bed. But I picked up the book called Every Man a King by Huey Long, and I had this book for a long time, so I started reading it. And it's pretty entertaining. Huey Long's storytelling from his point of view is kind of a biography he wrote when he was, I think, around 40, talking about how he got started and just a lot of the political battles and everything. It's a famous book in Louisiana, and so I was reading this book, and it really the parallels of what Huey Long was describing in the 20s are such close to the parallels of today with corporate interests running everything, the power structure, um, the um, conservativeness, the working class kind of being used and abused, oil companies, Standard Oil, just kind of running all over Louisiana and getting their way and pillaging our state. And he basically was a working class hero populist at that time, and it was very exciting. So just hearing those political battles, I'm like, oh, okay, so things were different then, but a lot of things, history doesn't repeat itself, it rhymes, and the rhymes
Mm.
really hit me. So I pulled up the Ken Burns documentary about
Mm.
Huey Long. So
Of course,
you
he
have
has
the
one on
you have the
Huey.
PBS app. He made one on Huey Long, and I had watched it years ago. That one and the
I'm gonna have to
Roosevelts was a
watch
really
that
good one
one.
too. Yeah, the Roosevelts one is an amazing one. That's my favorite. But the Huey Long one, I started watching that again, and just it's all kind of um, a lot of the parallels are close to the same. Now, Huey Long, uh, yes, they, the working class people still adored him, but he had lots of friction whenever he first got uh, voted in as governor. He had a supermajority against him, and how he kind of maneuvered that and got free textbooks and got uh, uh, thousands of miles of roads paved, buildings, bridges, all these things that we kind of want, corporate interest. I mean, there was uh, he was talking about a toll road that I think it was the Pontchartrain toll road, um, how because of him fighting it, the toll got reduced by a large amount. They were going to squeeze normal Louisianans. So it's like these same stories. It's an important reminder that we're we're living in the shadow of history,
Yes,
and we have to
absolutely.
do our part for the next chapter.
I also saw just a little LSU history. The Huey P. Long swimming pool at one point was the
I was
largest
a
pool.
lifeguard over there. I was a
See,
lifeguard at LSU,
see,
and I
that's our
remember the Huey Long
so
pool.
Dustin, for our listeners slash watchers, Dustin's 3 years older than me. By the time I got to LSU, freshman, sophomore year, the pool was shut down there. And I played soccer. I played
Mm,
recreational soccer.
I didn't realize
And
that.
yes, yes, in that whole, but I saw, because I started following this like LSU account, like it tracks all the history and stuff. And the Huey P. Long swimming pool at one point was the largest, once it was created, it was the largest pool in America.
Yeah, I remember it. It was really cool because it was, like, surrounded by, like, this old building, which was
Mhm.
abandoned.
Yeah.
Even whenever I was a lifeguard at the pool, it was just so cool because it was like the pool was like a courtyard and this old building around it, which there's nobody in there, but people
Mhm.
were still coming to swim at the pool. Yeah, that was, the only job I've ever been fired from, and I wasn't fired because of safety reasons. I was fired because during college, I couldn't get up at 5 in the morning or 4 in the morning to get there whenever some of the first swimmers were getting there at, like, 5 in the morning. I just couldn't do it. I still
But
am not able to wake up too early, and, yeah, so that
I
my
also
lifeguard
got
days didn't last too long.
I also got fired as a teenager. My very first job was at, and this is so Louisiana too, a snowball sand. Remember the green shack on
Yes.
Maplewood Drive? And I was let go because I kept asking off on the weekends. He was like, "Why don't you just take this weekend off that you want and then not come back?"
You know, that's the Grangers for you.
I know. Look,
We like our
we need
time off,
we like our
we
time. We like our flexibility. But
yes.
I did miss the free snowballs. Well,
Yeah.
always cherish my time there. Anyway, okay, so I have a note here. What happened with the EPA ruling yesterday?
So, Donald Trump came out and said that carbon dioxide, like, he reversed the EPA scientists' ruling that was a consensus that carbon dioxide was contributing to climate change and was bad for the health of American citizens and humankind. So you basically reverse that. And again, it's just a show for the oil companies and the carbon companies to show that he's their man. At the same time, oil is going down, drilling is at an all-time low. It just shows that they don't really um, care about it, but they just hate green energy investments, and it just kind of it makes me mad too because John Fleming, who we were talking about earlier, running for U.S. Senate, said, "See, it's the Green New Scam is was all a scam." I'm like, just because Donald Trump reversed EPA scientists, um, like
Yeah.
ruling, like
As if
settled consensus.
Trump got some new official scientific study stating otherwise.
Yeah, so, I mean, and that is as bad as, Cassidy and Julia Letlow are. Fleming may be even worse because he is more psycho-conservative and hates everything. He's trying to hijack carbon capture. Carbon capture is a mostly Republican thing because it's a subsidy to oil companies. The only reason that, it was in um, uh, some of the climate change bills was just because oil companies wanted a piece of it. Um, but all the Republicans voted for carbon capture across the state. Now, he luckily wasn't in office at a time a vote like that was made, so he's attacking all the other Republicans, acting like he's the only one that's conservative. And so they're kind of hijacking carbon capture in Louisiana and comparing it to a Green New Deal scam or whatever. And that's an unfortunate turn of events in Louisiana. I think Democrats need to run anti-carbon capture and take it back from the Republicans and not let them hijack it and try to blame um, people worried about climate change for this disgusting process of pumping carbon dioxide under our feet and into our water tables.
Like whoever listened to that explanation and thought, yeah, that's what we need to do. I also saw what part of the ocean Trump opened up, like it was several hundred miles of protected part of the ocean where like colonies of whales and dolphins and coral, and he just opened it up for hunting again. And I saw that, and I get especially pissed off um, seeing things
This
like that. It's
this
just
is an administration of
disgusting.
cruelty. It's
Yes,
cruelty.
exactly. Yeah,
Cruelty is the point.
cruelty is the point. Yeah. Okay, well, let's end on a point talking about and we touched on it a little bit, but the economy, stock market, um, what people should be doing with their money. And we kind of, same theme each, um, starting to get worried about their money in this market. What are some of the things that we're seeing just since the new year that you've noticed, Dustin?
Yeah, I'm looking at AI and crypto. I'm worried about that as being a catalyst. Not only, like I mentioned earlier, that the underpinnings of our economy, the rug is kind of getting pulled out of it because the majority of people are struggling right now. Um, at the same time, you're seeing bubbles in AI. Um, and crypto did have a bubble, but it looks like that bubble is bursting. I always thought that crypto, I've invested it a long time ago. I made some money in it, but I've just never understood it. I don't think people who claim to know what it is understand it, but I thought that that could be a catalyst. And I'm worried about that contagion of that going over into other markets. And I think that could be starting to happen. So um, I would just in your investments, thinking more about being more um, less volatile investments, having enough cash on hand. Be careful about your high interest debt. Um, if you have investments in your 401ks and stuff, maybe take some chips off the table in the stock market while we're at all time highs, Pam Bondi, and spread it around like you mentioned before. We like to have pieces on every part of the table where have a cash position, have good fixed income and bond position. You still may want some stocks, of course, but just not overextended in that. And then, of course, precious metals is the biggest red flag that I think we the gold and precious metals climbing so much over the past year is just a screaming indicator that the world is very fearful of Donald Trump's economic policies and his destroying of the world economic order, um, and into a new economy where uh, if you're a big, strong uh, country like China or United States, you can do what you want and bully everybody around and take what you want and take countries, you know. So I think all of that is showing some big red flags that are on the horizon. And so that's going to be another thing that we're having to worry about on top of our political upheaval with Donald Trump and MAGA. We could be facing another crisis at the same time.
Yeah, and I think it's an important to note that most people who have investments, like generally across the states, most people have their investments in like retirement accounts, 401k type accounts, and more times than not, like a target date fund. And those are going to have like your regular stocks and bonds, right? And that will do the job of diversifying you. But I guess what we're saying is kind of think outside that box and diversify a little more, especially when it comes to your cash. Cash is king, cash is your foundation. If you don't have a good emergency fund, um, then you can look to your investments to find some, like Dustin said, maybe take some chips off the table, but making sure you have at least 3 to 6 months of living expenses in cash or cash equivalents, like a high yield savings account, CD. That's the priority. Because when and if things go south, your liquidity and the flexibility you have is going to shrink astronomically. So you got to make sure you have the right cash on hand and then looking to diversify a little more than just your regular stocks and bonds. And that's where the precious metals come in. And of course, that's what we do for all of our clients is helping them find the perfect mix for them based on their specific situation. So that's one last thing I just want to mention is if you are someone who is looking for a little more hand holding and professional advice from an advisor that matches your values and morals and view of the world, we invite you to schedule a complimentary discovery call with Dustin and I. And you can find that link on all of our Substack profiles, social media. So y'all come follow us on Instagram. That's where Dustin and I are most active, Substack and Instagram. So y'all come follow us, subscribe if you haven't. And anything else you want to mention before we go? That was a
Nope.
solid hour.
Yeah. Happy Mardi Gras.
Happy Mardi Gras, happy Valentine's Day, and go do something that makes you happy this weekend. We'll see y'all next week.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for joining us.